Sometimes you just gotta go Bardown.
Kirill, top titty 2x4 to end the game. That was nice.
Bardown Beauties.
That's the sexy part of the game, is it not? The plays and the goals and the...
Yeah, that's what you guys like. I mean, it is great.
And now, a new episode of Bardown Beauties with Jessi Pierce and Kirsten Kroll.
At Jim Beam, they know the importance of tradition, like chanting, "Let's play hockey" prior to the start of each game, or playing the state of hockey anthem after a wild win. This season, raise one to your fan family with a bourbon that invites us all to come as friends and leave as family. Jim Beam Bourbon Whiskey, the official bourbon whiskey partner of the Minnesota Wild and XL Energy Center. Drink smart. Jim Beam Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. 40% alcohol by volume. Copyright 2021. James B. Beam Distilling Company, Incorporated, Fairmont, Kentucky.
Hello, everybody. What's up? Happy week. Happy 7-game homestand. I'm Jessi Pierce. She's Kirsten Kroll. Kirsten, a 7-game homestand that feels even more crucial for Minnesota at this point in time. Let's just dive right into it, shall we? Let's just go. Are you worried that the Minnesota Wild are going to fall out of the playoffs? Let's just start there.
1,000%. Yes. Recency bias, the game against Pittsburgh, not good. I know we're going to get into this later. When the player you acquired at the deadline after giving away 2 of your assets doesn't even really play, not good.
Literally.
It's not good.
Yeah, not good at all. We're going to get into some of the trades. Currently, your Minnesota Wild have now fallen, as we're recording this on a Monday, have fallen into that top wild card spot as Colorado moves into third in the Central, 2 points ahead of your Minnesota Wild. Colorado and Chicago tonight, first of a back-to-back because they are in St. Paul tomorrow. A very revamped Colorado as well, because unlike the Minnesota Wild, you had the Dallas Stars go and do some things, getting Mikko Rantanen. Then you had the Colorado Avalanche do some things, getting Brock Nelson, getting Charlie Coyle. Even more frustrating than the Minnesota Wild doing basically nothing. Going back to the Nyquist trade, I liked that move. I enjoyed adding him. Yes, he's older, but as we talked about last week, he has some scoring capability, which this Minnesota Wild desperately, desperately needs. But the Justin Brazeau addition made no sense. I thought there was going to be more coming. We both did. Billy stands by what he did. $12,000 in savings. That's all it was. $12,000 in savings to get rid of Lauko and Huznadinov, in addition for Justin, who played just 4 minutes and 10 seconds in a 3-1 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
It doesn't make sense. And I'm trying to understand, and I really don't. And I guess Marat, I'm really not torn up over. Like, I don't know. He was, again, like my whole take on Marat, he was fine. Like, yeah, he was fine. I think he was serviceable. He did what was expected. He showed us what he was. And then I think people were a little disappointed because he wasn't this big impact change maker people thought he could be. But he did he filled the role he needed to. But with Lauko, I'm upset about that because he was that fourth line grinder. He was that player who would be an instigator. He'd go out, he'd bring the energy, those fights. And I think that is a big piece I'm concerned Minnesota is not going to be able to replace, or that there's somebody that's going to step up to fill that role.
Right. And I mean, the thing that Brazeau brings is size, which we know Bill Guerin loves. I mean, he's a big
Trenton
body,
also brought size.
Yeah, that's not worked out well either, has it? Just hasn't worked out. And the thing is, Brazeau can't skate, which would be a problem, I think, for somebody who wants to play hockey. Like, he's not a very good skater. He kind of looks like you out there, which is a compliment to you, in fact, I think.
So you're saying I could play on the Minnesota Wild?
I think you could play on the fourth line for the Minnesota Wild, or you could play 4 minutes and 10 seconds on the fourth line for the Minnesota Wild.
This is a new level in my life unlocked today that I didn't know.
I know.
Happy Monday. Well, Tuesday, since you're listening.
Yeah, congratulations. With that being said, again, not to continuously harp on the trade deadline, but I think it was a frustrating moment for all Minnesota Wild fans, probably for the team, because while, yes, it shows that Bill Guerin likely believes in the squad, it just feels like there was more that could have been done or things differently. I mean, I understand the salary cap kind of. Like, I'm not going to pretend like, but I get it. I get how he was handcuffed. But do you think, Kirsten, that this is one of the worst trade deadlines that Bill Guerin has had? And we'll get to our cues with the Buttes, but I also want to give a shout out to Libby, who had also asked, how would you rate the trades that the Wild made at the trade deadline?
I think where we sit right now, from the outside looking in, it looks really bad. When Bill was talking in the quotes from being interviewed on trade deadline, it just was being referenced like this is part of like their 5-year plan. They're X amount of years into this 5-year plan. He's focusing on the bigger picture, which I appreciate, because we're not going to win the Stanley Cup this year. It's not going to happen. We're not a legit contender. So I appreciate the focus on the bigger picture, but from the outside looking in, when you're at high risk of falling out of the playoffs again entirely for a second year straight, it looks really bad.
And I will give, and again, we'll get to cues after the break, but Derek Falska wants to know what odds would you give the Minnesota Wild of missing the playoffs this year? I still think it's going to be low, and maybe it's better that they're in a wild card spot, which we had said early on was what we kind of predicted, right? St. Louis has 69 points. That is the next closest Central Division team to Minnesota, 76. And Minnesota has a game in hand. So I think they can weather the storm. I think they can hold on to it. So I'd still say there's maybe more of like a 20% chance that the Wild miss, which is far more than it should be, right, at this point, the way that they had played. But again, without Kirill Kaprizov, without Joel Eriksson, without Jonas Brodin, which is why it's so frustrating to watch Bill Guerin not do anything, because you could have put one of those guys on. If you don't want to put Kirill on LTIR, fine. You could have put Joel Eriksson on there. You could have put maybe Jonas Brodin, right? From what I'm hearing, Joel is going to be a while, and just how frustrating that's going to be if, in fact, these guys do not return and you didn't add anybody who can score a darn goal. That's all I'm saying.
It's the lack of offense for me, especially. And again, I keep referencing it because it's the recency bias, right? We're moving on. There's a new game in hand tonight when you guys are listening. But the game against Pittsburgh, not good, especially against an essentially depleted, struggling Penguins team.
Tristan Jarry has not played in the NHL in over a month. I don't know why the Minnesota Wild continue to make bad goalies look incredible, right? Earlier this year, you saw a goalie who was playing in his second NHL career game, and I believe he shut out the Wild. I mean, it was just, it's obscene. And I mean, Tristan Jarry played fine. I'm not saying he played poorly, but Minnesota made him look better with 19 missed shots and no net front presence and absolutely no shots on a power play. Like, it's obscene.
It's not good.
It's not good. We don't like it. Speaking of those three players, Kirsten, do you honestly think that all three of them return during the regular season? 18 games left as we record this. You don't think all three? Do you think any of them are going to return?
Yes. I would say probably Brodin is most likely to return first, just out of pure speculation. I think, from what I've heard, I don't think Joel's making it back by the end of the regular season, and I don't think he'd even be back for playoffs, which, gutting to say, I don't think it's going to happen. Kirill, it's a gamble. I'm still shocked not one of them is on LTIR.
It's mind-boggling. You're probably right. I do feel Kirill will come back because that's Kirill's mentality. Like, I think, unfortunately for him, the medical team continues to hold him out and be extra cautious, which is good for the long-term future. But I have to imagine he is infuriated by the length of time that he has been out. And he is a guy that wants a runway before getting into the playoffs. So I do think with just his general character and the way he is, he's going to find a way to get back before the regular season ends. Joel, I agree. I've heard that he's on crutches and a hard boot, and it's obviously a broken bone. So I think he is the one that's most likely to not return. And with Brodin at week to week, I think you see him back maybe the final week of the regular season. Maybe.
And he still won't be healthy. This man has not been healthy at all this season. He will be coming back injured. He will not be fully healed, but he will be back. And I hope to God he does not get injured again, but This man is just so injury prone.
Bones are made of glass. Do you think it was almost cruel that the Minnesota Wild tempted fate and said, hey, we're kind of good this year, unlike last year, and got us all believing, remained a top 5 team in the NHL,
Now they're a
worked their
bottom
way
5
up,
team in
and
the
now they're a
NHL as of
bottom.
January 9th.
If you look at that stretch of games, yes, they are one of the worst teams in the NHL since the end of January. Was it cruel? Is that just the Minnesota way?
Yes, what God giveth, he taketh away. Like, I'm upset. I thought we were given the gift of health. No, we saw how valuable. We were once again reminded health is an intangible asset that we all need to be grateful for daily. And we are constantly reminded by the Minnesota Wild.
One player that has had his health all season, although you wouldn't know it based on the depleted output of production he's had, Matt Boldy, another guy who started off the year so strong, has not scored a goal since February 22nd. He was a guy that Bill Guerin had earlier this season called a 50-50 player, and it looked like it, Kirsten. It was 100% on pace. Currently, he's got 54 points, 21 goals, 33 assists, and is a +1. But he has been absent despite being on the ice yesterday. I think the Pittsburgh game, he was on the ice for 25 minutes because he was getting double shifted because they didn't want to play this new trade acquisition that badly. When you have no Kirill, when you have no Joel Eriksson, you need Matt Boldy. And we talked about it after the Four Nations, how great his presence was for Team USA, playing amongst the superstars. But he found that physical net front presence. Without Joel, you really need a guy to be able to do that. Where the hell has Matt Boldy been?
I don't know. I'm honest. I'm not surprised. This is what he does. This is why I said I would not be heartbroken to trade him over like a Marco Rossi. Like, this is who, Matt Boldy is showing us who he is, a very inconsistent player. And it's, if I were Bill Guerin, I'd quite frankly be really pissed off. Like, this has been multiple seasons of doing the same ebbs and flows. Like, it's aggravating, especially when you are that player that needs to step up. You have been that guy with expectations. You get a high contract. Like, you are. I don't even know what else to say. It's frustrating. He should be producing more than he is. He should be producing, period, because he's not.
Yeah. I mean, and I get you when you're without your other top forwards, sure, the opposition's going to hone in on you. But you're better than that. Like, I'm not even going to use that as an excuse.
That's what star players do.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't understand it, I guess. Like, how can we see the ebbs and flows so strongly with such a young player who's been in this position for a while now, right? Like, that, you're right, that is just who it is. Now, we asked Boldy after the game on Sunday, about that and said, how much pressure do you feel right now that you've got to be the scorer? And he said, yeah, it's just not going in. It sucks. I thought the more I shoot it, I think get the quantity up, more chances to score, being able to make plays and getting more to the net and just kind of getting through. It's the only way to go. It sucks. You want to be on the ice. You want to make a difference. You want to help the team win in every way, and you need to find a way to score a goal. So he doesn't really have an answer, I guess, except shoot more, but that's also a problem. The team hasn't been shooting enough. I get frustrated too, because then it makes me question my own sanity when we have John Hines telling us, oh, we're generating offense. I'm like, where? I didn't see any offense generated last night. Did you?
No.
Thank you. Not crazy at all. Final question before we take a break, Kirsten, and get into our cues with the Beauts. Are you surprised at all at how instrumental or how valuable Kirill Kaprizov is to this team? Now, that may sound like a stupid question on the surface level, but again, Kirill was out for a length of time earlier this year, and the Wild managed to go 7-5-1. It's just, ever since he had surgery, it seems like this team has really been beaten down. And you had Joel Eriksson in the lineup for a while. You had Jonas. Is it surprising that this stretch without Kirill shows even more how an important and intangible piece he is for the team?
I mean, for me, honestly, not really. I think it's more a lack of everyone else not rising up and showing up. I think that's the bigger problem at hand.
That's fair. I would agree with that. Like, I think it's, again, I know it sounds silly, but yes, of course he's valuable to the team. But I thought this year the Minnesota Wild had done such a good job in the first half of showing that they are more than Kirill, right? They all can kind of rise up to being near Kirill's surface of the sun, if you will, right? Like you can kind of touch the sun. You can't because he's Kirill, but you can kind of get in there. And they're not. I would like it to be known. I did say what's up to Sid last night. We're still buds, so congrats to me.
Did you fall?
I didn't, but we made eye contact a few times. I said hi. It was nice. We're buds.
I walked by him arena level, like we walked right past each other in the hallway, and he looked at me, and the 7-year-old little Kirsten within fangirled super hard because I had the biggest crush on him. So I was like, wow.
Really?
Eye contact with my childhood crush.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I never saw that. I don't see that.
Well, when I was 7 or younger, there was 2 people for me when I was really young. John Stamos and Sidney Crosby.
Vastly different people.
I know. Like Sidney Crosby is the man that made me realize I just have a gut feeling I'm going to marry a Canadian. Like
that's fair though.
He was the man that I was like, yeah, I liked Sidney Crosby before I liked hockey.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, maybe we'll find out more about our childhood crushes and answer some of your cues with the Beauties. Okay, bye. Your nostalgic SotaStick favorites are back, and they are in stock now at SotaStick.com. From the Met Center colored seats, my personal favorite tee, to the getting blown out the Metrodome door, rep the Minnesota sports timeless vibes with a SotaStick hat, hoodie, tee, whatever suits you and their nostalgic vibes. SotaStick has all the best gear in the game. Don't forget to smash Bardown Beauties at checkout for 15% off all your purchases. Again, that's at SotaStick.com. All right, cues with the Beauties again. Thanks to everybody for commenting and engaging. It's always so much fun. It gives us some more talking points rather than just beating the dead horses of how bad this team has become. First one to you, Kirsten, from our friend Dino. He wants to know, do you two feel we are drafting too many European players over North American players? The reason I ask is because they do us no good over there instead of the AHL. Second year in a row where there is no one in Iowa that can do the job when they are called up to fill in for injuries. Do you sense that? Have you thought about this? Because I'll be honest, it's nothing I've ever really looked at. And I kind of wonder if perhaps Dino is referencing more so the Russians who do not come over after being drafted versus the Europeans, but that's my take. Go ahead.
I mean, it's a very interesting point to bring up. It is also not something I've ever thought about. And honestly, I don't think it really makes that big of a difference. Like, pick up the best player from Europe, pick up the best player that you can in North America. Like, I don't know. I guess it's not really something I've ever thought about.
No, I agree. And again, I don't know that. I think there are just more, maybe again, more recency bias where you're looking at Danelia Yurov or I think he's the only one really that's over there that is of any value right now. Liam Ogren spent some time, but he needed it. Yeah, I don't think it's a problem at all. Plus, they have plenty of North Americans, as we've seen. Z Bouillon coming in hot.
Can't wait for him, by the way.
Yeah, like they've got guys. They've got peeps.
All right, here's another fun question from Libby. How would you rate the trades that the Wild made at the trade deadline?
C-. I'll let him pass because he got Gustav Nyquist and because he couldn't do a lot, but C-.
I'm really thinking about this. I'm thinking... honestly, I'm just going to do it F. Like, you're not... It, like, even, again, recency bias. Didn't Marcus Foligno also get double shifted because they refused to continue to play?
Johansson did. Like, it was
everyone did. Why,
whole thing.
Why get rid of Marat and Lauko? Like, I get it. I kind of get it. It just seems so bad. Again, from the outside looking in, it looks really bad. I love the acquisition of Gustav Nyquist, but not the best trade deadline. I don't understand the vision. F.
That's, yeah, like, I have no I'm very impartial to the players departing because I don't become attached to fourth liners. Like that, they are what they are. We've talked
I
again.
also don't get attached to fourth liners, but my concern with getting rid of Lauko right at the deadline is who is going to fill the role that he did. Like he kind of, in a sense,
he was
filled a role
hurt
like
a
Mason.
ton.
He was hurt a lot, yes, but also he kind of filled that presence that Mason Shaw had, like that very distinct role, like energizer, pit bull kind of type energy. Who's going to do that? I don't see a guy on a Marcus Foligno, yes, but aside from that, who else is going to step up and do that?
I don't know.
I just, to me, I think it is a very crucial role. So I don't like that we got rid of Lauko for that specific reason.
That's fair. I get that. And he's an official Butte, so we love him for that. Side note, speaking of fourth liners, I saw Connor Dewar last night because I forgot he played for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he's got this like sick little stash going. And I told him, I said, I hardly recognized you with the mustache. He goes, I know, I grew up.
Oh my God. Also, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure we gave him a welcome back with
of course
Toronto.
we did. Of course you did.
No, with Toronto. So I believe this was his second welcome back.
I don't think so. I don't think he ever played here when he was in Toronto.
I feel like he has.
Because I saw last night was the first time that he was playing against the Wild.
I know they've played. I just feel
Duhaime.
like it's been such a long time since he has been with us that it just felt like he has
a lifetime
been
ago.
back.
He's grown up. He's just all grown up. So there you go. Yeah, an F is fair too. I don't hate that you gave him an F. I was just trying to be nice.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm not in the mood.
Because I'm the assistant to the assistant. I need to, side with him a little bit.
Pretty sure he fired you from that, but
he did. I saw him last night too, and I was like, so you should have asked me about the trade deadline. And he was like, huh. I don't think he thought it was very funny.
No.
I don't think he was in a good mood yesterday.
I also don't think he was in the mood.
Scott Dawson wants to know, is this team likable at all without Kirill? We talked about the value, obviously, he brings, but are they a likable team? And granted, losing isn't very likable from a fan perspective.
I like how you keep answering these questions that you are asking me before I can answer. How about we give me a chance to answer?
Did I answer that one?
Yes, the last two. You're like, it's not very likable from losing.
Oh, well, I was just pointing out a point, Kirsten. Please answer.
Sounds like you answered the question.
I'm just gonna. No, it's fine.
What are you doing? She's mad. I'm just watching her pout right now. Sorry guys, got a little distracted. Now she's on her phone. I think she's like angry tweeting something about me right now. Guess we'll find out.
What if Twitter were up? It's down.
Okay, I was wondering what was going on. I was trying to read about Brad Marchand showing up to Mediavale for Florida, and nothing's loading.
It's
Thanks,
down.
Elon.
It's still down. I did a quick Google search on it, and it's still down.
Thanks, Elon. Okay, going back to the original question at hand, I do think this is a likable team without Kirill. You got a lot of, like, just from the vibes perspective, the personnel, the talent that we have on the squad, I think they're a very likable bunch. Maybe this isn't the question, the direction you expected it to go, but I mean, we got some fun guys on the team. They all got likable personalities. I think, yes, we're a likable group, but no, as Jessi had said, losing is not smiled upon from a fan perspective. Now you can answer. Now this is your turn.
That was probably about it.
Yeah.
About it. I don't know. This team has very unlikable qualities outside of Kirill too. Sometimes, right?
I mean,
like
this is true.
A puck.
This is true.
Can't stand it.
Moving on to Borgie. Do they have a face-off coach? They have been terrible at it for years. At some point, you have to get better. I stopped counting how many clears Pittsburgh had on the power play because they won the face-off. Also, the Wild often lead in shots on goal like they did today. Are our shots on goal just not that good? Or do the goalies we play always have a spectacular day? Jessi, this is a perfect question for you because you love to talk about the goaltending.
I do love to talk about the goaltending. Let's go ahead and start there. I think their shots are just not good. Okay, I just think that's a large portion of it. They try to get too fancy with the passes to set up this perfect shot, and it's not there. Like even look at Sidney Crosby's first goal the other night. That was off Faber's stick, which isn't, or Middleton's, I can't remember which one. Faber, I think, which isn't necessarily Faber's fault, but it's like, it's those little tip-ins. It's not often where you're going to see these, nice, fancy setups. Or was that Malk? I don't even remember. It's all a blur. So to that point, I think going back to even what I said in the first half, generating offense to me isn't necessarily just the scoring, but they're not generating the offense to create the scoring chances. I don't feel. That's how I feel, because they're not putting themselves in the good position. So I don't think it's the goalies that are good. As we mentioned, Tristan Jarry and other guys who sometimes I'm willing to give the goalies their hats off. And my story would have been a lot better if Ryan Hartman didn't score yesterday, because it would have been Jarry's first shutout of the year. But here we are. As far as faceoffs go, yes, it's terrible, but you also just don't have a good centerman to do that. Long gone, Mikko Koivu was the only, and I know we all have our own feelings on him, but he was one of the best faceoff players the Minnesota Wild have ever had, and they no longer have anybody like that. Jules Eriksson's fine. Marat was supposed to be really good at that, and he was fine. Because there's only so many things. Like every faceoff, I remember I did a story on this, like, at the dot, you have to look at your opposition. You have to know the official. You have to know how the official throws the puck down. There's a lot of intangibles that go into faceoffs. That's really kind of cool. Recommend you check out that story. I'll find it for you and share it. But yeah, I think it's not just coaching; it's the players too for the faceoffs. Additions?
No notes.
No notes. Yeah. That was long-winded. I apologize. That was very word salady too. I don't know if I really answered appropriately. I kind of ranted. Instead, I Mikko ranted it.
Rod would not be laughing with you.
Emily Moorhead wants to know, will Faber face any punishment for the stick breaking at the end of the Pittsburgh game?
No. Players break sticks all the time.
For those that
Out
missed
of frustration.
it, Crosby's empty netter. Faber. I've never seen Faber kind of have a hissy fit like that, though.
Well, he also did not have a good end to the game either.
No. Like, he threw his glove down, too.
I think he's very frustrated.
Very mad. Very mad. But yeah, no, I mean, he doesn't show that emotion often and didn't hurt anybody, so.
Yeah, no, that happens often, like, especially, maybe not as publicly, but heading to the bench, heading down the tunnel, sticks are broken all the time.
I love the down the tunnels. Like, who was it?
When Marc-Andre Fleury was slamming his stick against the poles, like, no, nothing's
There was
happen.
a goalie that got yanked last week. I forget which game it was, but he smashed his stick down the tunnel. He was peeved.
I love that.
I do too.
Adds a little spice. You need that sometimes.
I'm gonna
Especially from Brock. I love seeing.
Yeah, like I said, you don't see that
Kind of
from him.
Brock's one of those people. It would scare me to piss off Brock, because he is one of those guys who I feel it takes a lot to make him mad, but when you do,
Look out.
exactly.
Don't blame me there.
All right,
I'm gonna
moving on
double
because
up.
I'm. What?
What did you say?
You said double up, and I was like,
Yeah.
what? I was going to move on to the next question.
No, I'm gonna give you the next question.
Okay, fine.
Do blondes have more fun? From our friend
Yeah.
Mitch.
I think so.
Same.
Yeah. Okay, skipping ahead because whatever. O-Train, if you could pick someone. What?
It was a real question that came in.
Yeah,
Oh.
I know, and now I'm asking another real question from O-Train. If you could pick someone else who didn't play hockey, who would you pick? I don't really understand that. I'm going to be
I'm
honest.
not sure I do
Like, what do you
either.
mean? Who am I going to pick? Like, pick
Let's
who?
say
What's
if we
the
could pick
context?
let's pick a non-hockey athlete that is our favorite athlete. Or going back to your Sidney Crosby crush, maybe we round that out and say like your favorite non-hockey athlete crush.
Non-hockey athlete crush. Miles Teller. Love Miles Teller.
But what if Miles Teller played hockey? We don't know that.
I don't think he does.
Taylor Kitchener plays hockey, and I love him. He's Tim Riggins.
Wait, do I have to pick a
an athlete.
non-hockey player that plays hockey?
I don't
Like-
know if you could pick. We're making this up on our own. If you could
I
pick
don't
someone
know what
else
you're
who didn't play hockey, who would you pick? Pick a different athlete. Let's go with an athlete.
I don't want to say mine.
Just like who you love watching.
Who I love watching. I'm trying to think of which direction to go. Matthew Tkachuk. I do like watching him.
He does.
Oh, I don't. You are like changing up all of the guidelines for this question. Like you were like, okay, let's do this, and I was like, what? I don't know.
It's a non-hockey player,
An athlete that's not
an athlete
hockey.
that doesn't play hockey. There are other sports out there.
No, I know, but you didn't.
This.
You didn't word it like that. It was not clear what you were asking.
I didn't say.
It was not clear.
We have the receipts. This will be clipped.
God. Someone who I love watching that doesn't play hockey.
I'm gonna say Anthony Edwards and Bryson DeChambeau. Those are my two.
Okay. I take a lot of time to like carefully consider what I'm going to say, so I am still pondering. I'm talking out loud because I take Jalen Hurts.
Running quarterback.
Running quarterback, baby.
Okay.
That's mine.
Fair. All right. Two more before we mercifully wrap this up. Hockey and Loud Music wants to know, which former Wild player would you bring back for this team to make a run? Any era applies. I like this question.
Any era. I thought of something and I'm not going to say it. No, I'm going to say it. I'm like, what if I said Victor Rask?
Oh my God. And are we committed to this?
No. Like I just said, I'm not going to say it.
Be funny.
Like,
yeah,
funny. Just to say it. I was just being funny. I'll take a Zach Parise in his prime.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Zach in his prime.
Yeah. No, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Because and now his prime of his time with the Wild, obviously. Because I felt like he was never quite what the New Jersey what he had from when he was with the Devils.
Maybe not, but I still think when he was in his prime with the Wild, he was still a good player, good impact player.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go
also, keep in mind when we're thinking of like Wild history, I was very, very young at the team's origin, so I don't remember a lot of
remind everybody how old Jessi
the
is.
West Walls. Like I don't remember a lot of those players.
I'm gonna go with Andrew Brunette in his prime.
Okay. So that's another guy I really
didn't. That's gonna crash. Oh, he was good. He was good. We liked him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're going with.
I think so.
Okay.
I need somebody who can score a goal. That's all. Not much to ask. Or Mikhail Granlund. Right? A little bit younger.
Okay. All right. Last question. When are you coming to a Jets game?
Oh, probably that Stanley Cup final run. That's when I'll be there. Woo!
Okay. That's a wrap. That's this week's episode.
It is. Shout out to Let's Play Hockey for having us kind of come hang out. I believe we will be there at the expo next year, but it was fun to see a lot of you roaming around as we do. As always, shout out to Grainbelt, Royal Credit Union, Talk North, and Jim Beam and SotaStick, our friends at SotaStick too. Can't forget them. Don't forget our next live show for Grainbelt at Tom Reed's is Monday, March 24th, 7 p.m. puck drop, 6 p.m. pregame show, lots of specials, trivia, giveaway, all of that good stuff. And shout out to the Minnesota High School Hall of Fame, which more information is coming. Go check out their website and vote in their survey. A lot of really cool things should be unveiling within the next month or two there. I can't believe there was never like a Minnesota High School Hockey Hall of Fame situation.
Yeah,
before.
that is crazy.
Right? It's very interesting. So stay tuned on more of that. And on behalf of Kirsten and myself, have a great rest of your week. Go Wild.
Woo!
Very near.